Okay, we gotta talk about design tools again. Figma changed their drafts policy recently and annoyed a lot of people, and then Adobe decided to one-up them a little bit and made some pretty scary or horrible, however you want to look at it, changes to their policies regarding AI and ownership of your work. What a week. But don't worry, I'm gonna unpack it for you. Changes are coming, but this is important because if you don't act now and if you're not aware of these changes happening, you might be left out in the future and it's gonna be too late for you to do anything about it. But let's start with this. A company selling a product is not your friend. Even if they have this amazing community of creative people, however it's called, they're not your friends. They're a business and their sole purpose is to take your money. And I still don't know why people get so obsessed and cult-like with some of those design tools. And then they justify the abuse because, well, love hurts, right? Figma is changing how their drafts work now, which means that basically you need to always move your drafts into a team, and you can have a free team still, but if you worked in drafts primarily, then you're gonna have a lot of moving to do. Because yes, you have to do it manually, and it's a feature that mostly is aimed at paying users, and it's gonna be a pain in the ass for all the free users, but at the same time, prioritizing paying users make complete sense. You shouldn't be surprised by it or annoyed by it, but obviously a lot of people are. This may or may not lead to even further limitations of the Pro plans. Many people said that they cannot share anymore with their free plan from Figma with anybody, but that might be something specific to that use case. But a lot of people are annoyed enough to be moving to Sketch, and if they're not on the Mac, they move to PenPot or Lunacy. All of these tools have much better privacy and are a lot more transparent with their pricing. Most of them are free, and in case of Sketch, it's actually cheaper than Figma and you don't get any extra surprise charges if somebody joins your project. Remember 2 years ago I told you to back up your .fig files? That might come in handy even if you're not planning to leave Figma for now. And I asked some people, the results are on the screen right now. It seems like most people are still fine with the changes, but there is some breaking point that we're almost reaching for a lot of them. So did you back up your files? Let me know. But the more important thing here is not even Figma, it's Adobe. Adobe did some changes to their policies with how they're using AI to parse your work. And this is important because they were supposed to be just looking at what you're clicking to do something in the app to maybe make the interface better, but now they're saying that they're actually looking at what you're working on. Some of that stuff is NDA protected, some of that stuff is heavily protected, and if it ever gets out, then you'll be in trouble. So basically what they said is that they might be using your work to train AI models. And a lot of people got really angry at it. So they released a statement that made things even worse. Because first of all, they said that they are not using your work to train the Firefly model. And if you put it that way, that might mean that they're not training AI on your work at all, or that the model that they're using to train on your work is just called something different because it's a technicality. It's a statement that's vague on purpose. But they also said that they're not planning for you to be able to have your work completely private because you might be doing naughty things in Photoshop. Yes, you might be making a meme about the president that Adobe doesn't support. Or you might be supporting a country that's in a war somewhere overseas that they don't support either. And we have quite a lot of different conflicting views right now in the world. So if one company can now decide what's good or bad in creative work, that will affect a big group of people either way. So all of that is plain creepy and super abusive. Okay, I'm gonna show you how to fight back in a second, but first, let's talk about why they're doing this.
AI, generative AI.
So why so many companies are adding AI right now, and why are they trying to replace artists and designers and translators and sometimes developers as well with AI models? This comes solely from competition. Competition is fierce, and there are many countries with different rules and legal obligations, so they don't have to follow the same rules, and that is a problem. Because let's say that you want to be fully ethical, you want to make nice apps for people to make beautiful things in. But there is a company in China or in India or in Africa somewhere that doesn't have to follow the same privacy rules that you have to do, and they're gonna outcompete you because they will add AI and they will train that AI, and you'll be just left in the dust with a product that will lose eventually. So that kind of fear is driving all those companies to basically bend or break the rules and abuse their users, their current users. So eventually, like many artists have nowadays, you might end up seeing your own work, slightly modified by AI, being resold on stock photo sites or some other AI marketplace. And some people are asking, what about Framer? And Framer is a very nice tool. It has pretty powerful features, and it can go around needing a design tool completely because you can just design straight in code or no code and deploy it. But the problem is that Framer is also vendor locked, so you don't own your own source code. You can't export it and use it outside of Framer, which means that eventually if they decide they want to do stuff like that, you will be just as locked in as you are with Photoshop or with Figma or with all those other tools that are trying to train some AI. Because yes, Figma is also training some AI, and you can opt out of that unless you're a free user, because in that case you can't. So look for those vague statements, read the privacy policies, because basically it's a contract, and that contract might state loud and clear that you as the user are f***ed. Do you want to be? Or do you want to be a smart consumer that can vote with your wallet and switch to another tool? Because that is one choice you have. You can read those policies and read when they change and take action. And maybe eventually all the tools will go that route. And in that case, remember that design doesn't happen in a tool. Design happens in your head. I do quite a lot of design basically with pen and paper or on a call explaining a way of solving a problem to a client or to stakeholders. You don't need to be completely bound to a tool anyway. Tools are tools. It's like a hammer. If you don't like how the handle feels, you can switch to a different hammer, but be aware if it changes in any way. And some people are taking it a step further in that fight against the corporations, and I talked about Nightshade a couple times before. It's an app or a tool that data poisons your images, so AI gets completely messed up while trying to learn from them or read them. And this is actually something you can do. Some people, like this user here, are uploading a lot of poisoned images to their Photoshop subscription, so AI is training on garbage and it's gonna be breaking the results. And if enough people do this, then yeah, we might actually stop them in their tracks, because they will have to manually figure out which parts are broken. But it's important to be aware of that. It's important to know about it. And it's really important not to sit still, because they're just moving the needle slightly every year. And if you agree to that, and if you don't complain, if you don't write to them on Twitter or anywhere else, then they're just gonna keep doing it. We are the creatives, not them. We are just using their hammers. So we don't want to give them blueprints to recreate our work without our permission, and we don't want them to own our work. Because the hammer making company doesn't make the house. People make the house using that hammer. So they shouldn't be able to own the house. Let me know what you think about that. But this is going to be a topic that is going to be very important in the years to come.